Good evening, everyone. I'm Maggie Pallone. I'm with Public Sector Consultants, and we've had the pleasure of hosting these community meetings and facilitating these community meetings over the last 4 years. I'm going to ask Angela Tompkins with Consumers Energy to come up and just do a welcome, and then Rich Castle will come up and walk us through our safety tailboard, and then I'll walk you through the agenda tonight. Just while Angela comes up here and grabs this mic, if you do have a question card, we'll collect those before the Q&A period. You are more than welcome, though, to hold your question and just raise your hand and ask with a microphone. I am not sure we'll get through every single Q&A card. We'll try to group them into like topics. But if you do have a question that you just want to write down and try to have us answer, now's the great time. My team will walk through here and grab them momentarily. With that, Angela, you should be on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Tompkins. I'm the Vice President of Community Engagement for Consumers Energy. I want to first personally thank each and every one of you for taking your time out of your evening to be here with us tonight. When we started this process a couple years ago, we committed to transparency and trust with the community, and we're following up with just that. Transparency, an opportunity to have some follow-up information on the sale of the hydros. We have with us tonight the new potential owners. We'll go through a presentation. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. So tonight is about you. It's an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have and to make sure that you walk away with all of those questions answered. So please don't be shy. Again, this is our commitment to you, to the community, to be transparent and to give you an opportunity to get those questions answered. So again, thank you for being with us, for giving us your evening, and for being with us. And I'll turn it over to Rich.
All right, good evening. I'm Rich Castle. I'm the Community Affairs Manager for Consumers Energy. I'm based out of Taos. I cover 8 counties here in the Northeast region, including Oscoda County. So want to welcome you. For those of you that have been to our meetings in the past, you know that we take safety very, very seriously, and so that's not going to change here tonight. So those of you that have gone through this before, we go through a safety tailboard. Safety tailboard is designed to help you know who's going to do what in case there's an emergency. Hopefully, we don't have to worry about it, but just in case, a little bit of information can help you out. So tonight, we're here at the Mayo Asabal High School, the gymnasium. We're at 1110 8th Street here in Mayo. If there's an emergency and we got to get out of the gym, the best thing that we can do is go out the door that you guys came in. If we have to, we can go out this door over here, and then you take a left and go down the hallway that's on the back side of the wall here. We're going to exit the school, and we're going to go out into the parking lot and get as far away from the school as possible. So that's only if we have to get out of the school. So just be aware of that. If we got a shelter, we're just going to stay here in the gymnasium. This is probably the safest place to be. I'm the incident commander. So for those that need to call me, my number is up here on the screen, 231-735-3619. Maggie Pallone from PSC will call 911. The emergency responder will be Anna Lee. Anna's over here. Let's see. CPR first aid is going to be Adam Monroe. He's down here in the front. And then the PSC team, they're also trained. If we got a major issue and we need multiple people to help out, if you're trained in CPR, don't hesitate to come down and help out if that's a scenario that we have to deal with. So just be aware of that. There is an AED on site. So I didn't put somebody's name on there, but we'll take care of that. That'll be me or Doug DeYoung. The AED is outside on the other side of the entrance on the left side. And then fire extinguisher, I got Rick Blumenstock from Consumers Energy and Rob Bourgeois. There are 4 in here, 4 fire extinguishers in here in the room. So if there's somebody else that needs to jump in and help, again, there are 4 here. And then hazards. We got people here. The exits are small, so if we got to get out of here quickly, it might be kind of tight to get through the exit. So that's why I'm advising some folks to go out this other way and come back around. And then finally, you guys all came through the parking lot. It's pretty icy, so just be careful when you leave. Make sure you shuffle your feet as you're going through the parking lot. The last thing, and an unfortunate situation that we got to talk about, is the active shooter. If there is one here, run, hide. If you're going to hide, make sure your cell phones are silenced. Last thing you want to do is have your phone on. That's when it's going to happen, right? Somebody's going to call you. And then if you're going to fight, and then tell whoever is emergency responder, tell them what's going on. So that's our safety tailboard. Want to thank you again for being here tonight. We'll pass it over to Maggie. Thank you.
Great. Rich, will you hand your microphone over to Rick? He's up after me. So tonight, just a few things that we want to do. Angela talked already about our meeting purpose. We told you all when a decision was made, we were going to come talk to you about it. And if you were sitting in the meetings in 2022 and 2023, we thought that was going to be in 2024. And then we thought it was going to be in early of 2025. It took a little bit longer, but we are here tonight in the snow to have this conversation. So again, a commitment to everyone in this room that when a decision was made, we'd come back and be transparent and talk about that decision. So I'm going to invite some of the consumers team up to just talk more about the decision and how they got to the process to where the best decision for ratepayers and for the company was to sell these dams. And then we're really, really excited to have the Confluence team here with us tonight. Just want to set a little bit of a reminder for everyone. They are 2 months into being the potential new dam owners, but it will be a much longer process before they actually take over. So they're our guest here tonight. I don't have any expectation that they're going to have an answer to every single question, but this is really a great opportunity for you to share what the concerns and the hopes and dreams of this community are. We've shared with them all of the information that you gave us in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. So they have a lot of it, but I always think it's better for them to meet the community that they're gonna now be neighbors with. Just wanna say thank you. I know we're asking a lot out of you to keep coming back to these meetings and listen to me ramble on and listen to the consumers team. I know you have a lot of other things you could be doing. I know it's not the greatest roads. It's dark. Nobody wants to leave their house. So just really appreciate you giving us your time tonight. I will respect your time and we will wrap right at 7:30. If your question doesn't get answered before we wrap, the team from Consumers, a lot of them are in their consumer shirts. The team from Confluence, they're all in their Confluence Hydro shirts. Will stick around and answer questions if you still have them. So just want you to feel confident that your questions will get answered even if we do wrap here at 7:30. We are in Mayo tonight and we are in Ascota tomorrow night. So if your neighbors couldn't make it to this meeting and they live maybe closer to that part of the county or this part of the state, feel free to invite them over to Ascota, the Community Players Theater in Ascota tomorrow. And then as you all saw, these meetings are being recorded. We will get these recordings of the presentation up online as soon as possible. So they will be there ready for you to share with your neighbors or whoever else, trying to get those up as soon as possible. And they will be recorded at every meeting. So while the presentation will be quite similar, if you want to watch what we said in Allegan or what we said in Weber last week, those will get posted here shortly. Finally, just don't forget, if you have a card, we'll collect those and try to get those organized before the meeting. I'm going to walk in front of that thing all night. Okay, so just a couple of rules for engagement. This is my third or fourth opportunity to be in front of you. I know that you're all passionate and kind individuals, but still, I know that not everyone in this room has the same opinion. So I'm just going to ask for a couple ground rules before we get started. Mostly, be respectful, right? And not everyone in this room, in particular in this community, shares the same opinion about whether or not the dam should be relicensed, whether or not the dam should be removed, whether or not sale is a good idea or a bad idea. When we did our community surveys in 2023 and 2024, this community, more than any other community, had a pretty diverse opinion, especially in the online surveys around whether or not dam removal or dam sale was a good idea. So asking you to be respectful, be considerate. There's going to be a lot of questions we have tonight. So if your question's like really specific to your parcel or not about dams at all, you're just mad that Consumers hasn't cut their tree right or they didn't cut your tree, you can track down any of the Consumers folks that are down on this end and they can answer your really specific question. In particular, Rich is a great resource to direct those really specific non-dam questions to, just so we can get to as many questions as possible tonight. And then wait your turn. I just won't have any tolerance for people yelling, not yelling at Consumers, not yelling at Confluence, not yelling at your neighbor. If we get to that point, I'll just ask you to leave. I know nobody will do that, but just want to remind folks that these are your neighbors sitting in this room tonight. Great. So if this is not if this is your first rodeo, although a lot of you look familiar here in the room tonight, let me just give you like 5 minutes of background before I turn it over to Rick, who will do a presentation about the sale, confluence, and then we'll have like 45 minutes for questions. This is one of 13 dams. Well, we're here to talk about Alcona and Maya. So this is 2 of 13 dams that Consumers owns. They have 6 on the Asable, 1 on the Grand, 1 on the Kalamazoo, 2 on the Manistee, and 3 on the Muskegon. We've already done community meetings for Allegan and Grand River. So tonight, obviously, we'll do some of the Asable, and then tomorrow night, the rest. So I've talked a little bit about 2022, 2023. This is just to help folks understand this isn't our first time here. In 2022, Rick's going to talk a lot more about what happened that kind of led to this process, but Consumers began a multi-year review of their 13 dams to figure out, as part of a larger conversation around their energy portfolio, how hydro fit into that. Their hydro operating licenses all expire for all 13 dams within the next 9 to 16 years. And actually, the Confluence team will talk a little bit about that. This is a long process. And so these conversations, while it feels like 9 years is a lot of years out, the conversations and the planning started actually in 2022 around what to do next. So this just helps understand when we talk about the dams, while they feel really, really big and they are really big assets in your community, they're a quite small piece actually of Consumers' overall energy portfolio. If you look down there in the renewable energy, that's the green piece. That's one, hydro sits in that, and hydro's less than 1% of this overall makeup. So a small piece of Consumers' energy portfolio, an important piece, but small. So I'm just going to breeze through this. It's just so you all know. In 2022, we came and talked to the community for the first time and probably scared a lot of you. You hadn't probably thought about these 100-year-old assets having an end date. And so we came in and we said, hey, these might not be relicensed. And everyone said, whoa, wait, I need a lot more information to understand why that would be a good idea. And so the first thing we did is we did a survey of property owners. We had these community meetings and we heard, hey, we think that these dams are incredible assets to our community and we'd like you to help quantify that. So we did an economic impact study for all 13 dams to understand the economic impact these dams have on your communities. And we found out it was quite a substantial economic impact. The little party store, the canoe livery, all of those things were dependent on the lake and the river and having the dam here in your communities. Then we also said, okay, well, what would happen in 2023? We said, what would happen if the dams were to be removed? Help us understand the economics of that. So we try to think about it both ways, the economics that it plays today and what would happen to the community if we were to remove these dams. We also had more meetings. And then in 2024, we still didn't have a decision about what Consumers was going to do. So we said, why don't we have smaller group meetings? And we formed these prosperity groups to really help Consumers understand, regardless of if they sell, if they relicense, or if they decommission, what does prosperity mean for these communities and how can Consumers be a part of it? So if you're going to relicense, what does the community need to continue to feel like it's prosperous? If you're going to remove them, what does the community want to see? What kind of recreational assets? What kind of tax implications would they want to see Consumers fill? And then if you're going to sell, what are the expectations they have of a new owner in ensuring the community still feels prosperous? So we had those conversations and we issued a report. All of this information is on Consumers' website. You can see it there. But in this community, in these 2 communities, some key priorities these groups raised up on behalf of the community. So this was township officials and local business owners and anglers all sat in these rooms and gave us this feedback. The first thing they said that maintaining and improving outdoor rec opportunities was important. They wanted to make sure there was more of that regardless of what happened to these dams. They also said that the protecting and restoring the fisheries was incredibly important. We all know that the Asable is a gem, not only in Michigan, but across the nation. And ensuring that the fishery existed and the economic opportunity because of the fishery was important. He also said improving river health was important. But the most important thing that we heard over and over again, not just in this community, but in every community we went to and asked the question was, regardless of who owns this, we want to make sure that these dams are maintained in a safe way, and that the financial resources are behind it to ensure these dams can be safe regardless of the owner. And then finally we heard, hey, while we think it's important that you have safety and you do all those other things, like, hey, can you make sure my dock stays or my favorite fishing spot, I continue to get access to that? So continuing those lease agreements was really important to community members who had access currently to the river or the impoundment. I'm going to ask Rick to come up here and introduce himself and maybe introduce the rest of the consumers team that might field questions for us, Rick. And then Natalie, when you come up, you can introduce your team. And don't trip on the wires. That would be the worst thing we could do.
Got it. And I did notice that over by the door, a little bit wet, people bringing in some snow, so be careful of that too. All right, by way of introduction, my name is Rick Blumenstock. I work for Consumers Energy and have done so for 32 years. I am Executive Director of Engineering, and so my role is overseeing engineering of our generating assets. And I was one of the principal negotiators of the sale transaction. And I'm delighted to be here tonight to share some rationale behind the sale, some of the details around the transaction, and then address some of the concerns that I think are top of mind for you, like safety or electric rate impact. So we'll discuss some of those items too. I may be joined on stage on court later during question and answer time by Rob Bourgeois. He's our real estate expert. And Adam Monroe, he is the executive director of operations. So I'm doing the engineering and he's operating the assets. I think that's it, isn't it, Maggie? Okay. All right, decision to sell. So that goes back about 3.5 years ago. And we had just finished filing with our Public Service Commission our 20-year plan for our generation portfolio. We're required to do that once every 5 years, or no less than once every 5 years. And that's a time that the utility steps back and it looks at our assets and how we serve our customers with energy. So we typically think about things like decommissioning or adding generation, but we'll also look at our existing assets too and figure out how do they fit into our portfolio into the future. We did just that for the 13 river hydro units. We took a step back and we looked at them and we said, how do they fit into our portfolio? Maggie showed that pie chart a few slides ago. Only about 1% of our customers' needs are met by the river hydros. So they don't provide a lot of energy and capacity, but they do provide clean energy, and that's very valuable to us. So we took a step back and we agreed with our Public Service Commission that we would hire a third party, an independent party, to look at what options we have for our river hydro fleet and how that fits into the context of what we want for our river hydro fleet. So we call it a roadmap. I think the slide may use the term roadmap, maybe not objective study. But we worked with this third-party consultant to look at primarily 3 paths forward: selling the assets, decommissioning the assets, and relicensing or continue to operate them for another 30, 40, 50 years. Those are the 3 options that we looked at. It took about a year for that independent engineering firm to complete their study. While that was being done, we came out and met with many of you. I wasn't in those meetings, but I know we came to communities and gyms like this, and we went to all 13 communities. And at that time, we were primarily focused on 2 options, which were decommissioning and relicensing. For those of you that attended those meetings, that may be what you took away, that's what we were looking at. When we received a report from our consultant, they introduced that third option of sale. And their recommendation was, if you can sell these assets and meet the objectives in those bubbles there, and you can do it at a lower cost than it costs to decommission or relicense and continue operating, it makes sense to sell them. So that's what we did. In 2024, we had a request for proposal to sell our assets. So request for proposal is a fancy term for an auction. And we structured that sale in a very specific manner. And you're going to hear me talk about it, and you're going to hear Confluence talk about it. We exchanged for $1 of facilities, $1 per facility, excuse me. That made the headlines, and a lot of people have asked questions around that. And in exchange, Consumers Energy agreed to enter into a long-term power purchase agreement where we purchase for our customers every megawatt that's produced from all 13 facilities over 30 years. The key to that is 30 years is a long time, and it's a stable revenue stream for Confluence. How are they going to invest in and maintain in those assets? They're going to leverage the revenues that they get through our power purchase agreement over a 30-year period. Around the sale, we had, I think, 41 or 42 entities that were interested in the auction, and we only had 15 that provided bids, and we weeded out 8 of those. I'll talk about our weeding out process in a moment. So that left us with 7 bidders, and we proceeded to a lengthy due diligence process with them. And so we provided thousands of documents to Confluence and the other 6 bidders. We wanted to make sure that they fully understood what ownership of our hydro fleet looked like. So we told them about everything we had in the past, where we're at today, and where we're going with our investment and maintenance plans. That way, when they make a bid, they can make an informed bid on what they would need for revenue to operate the assets as they see it. It took us 12 months to negotiate this deal, and we spent the time working on it because it means a lot for our customers, it means a lot for you, it means a lot for our employees, and it means a lot for Confluence. So we got it right. It's a very complicated transaction too. So 13 different facilities, all unique, different properties, just a lot that goes into that sale transaction. So vetting the buyers. So I'd mentioned that we had 15 bids and we weeded out 8 of them. So we had 5 primary vetting aspects, but there were more. But these are the primary ones. So the first 2 there were like pass or no pass. If they weren't safe and they didn't have the financial balance sheet to own and operate 13 facilities, we didn't continue negotiations with them. So those are what I call a gating aspect. You either meet it or you don't. And then we also asked about qualifications and experience. How long have your operators, how long have your engineers, your management been involved with hydro assets? Obviously, we want to place the assets in the hands of people that have long experience. We asked about their public partnership plan, and finally pricing was a big piece of vetting the buyers, the way we rank them. So the sale, we've agreed to sell the assets to Confluence, but that still needs to be approved by 2 regulatory bodies, the Public Service Commission and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So you might hear me use the acronym MPSC, Michigan Public Service Commission, and FERC. So as I said, we've structured this as a 30-year deal to ensure that there's sufficient revenues for Confluence to invest in and maintain these assets. We will be purchasing all that energy for our customers. So the nice thing is a good story for our customers. They get the clean energy that comes from these assets. There's a lot of value that comes in from generator production, and we get all of that value for our customers. We did some extensive business case modeling. What does it look like to decommission, continue to operate, or sale? And if you've read our MPSC filing, I doubt many of you have, but if you have, we're telling our regulators that our lowest cost path forward is selling the assets, and we prove that to them in our business cases. 2 other aspects. Confluence Hydro is going to offer about 65 employees dedicated to these facilities jobs. So post-closing or post-sale, those 65 people will have the opportunity to transfer to Confluence. The nice thing there is it's a ready-made workforce of some world-class employees that have kept them safe for generations and will continue to keep them safe. And then lastly, all of the lands associated with these projects will be sold to Confluence Hydro. So the first concern that came up in the prosperity group, are the dams going to be safe? And I'm going to cut to the chase. Yes, they will be safe. And there's some supporting reasons as to why. So first, as I said, we vetted the bidders. We vetted Confluence. And so we asked them for their operating history. We not only asked them for it, but we went out into the FERC website and verified that we could see everything in their operating history. They had nothing in their history that would indicate they had done anything unsafely or had any issues with FERC in their previous ownership. We also took a look at their safety program. So if you own a dam, you got to have a manual. That's your safety program for your assets. And they had an outstanding safety program. So they checked the mark in our evaluation. Confluence Hydro is owned by Hull Street Energy. So that's the parent. Confluence is the subsidiary. So we negotiated with Hull Street, actually. They're going to put the assets into the hands of Confluence Hydro But Hull Street has successfully passed or chinned the bar with FERC on a license transfer. So FERC has the authority and responsibility when we sell an asset to approve the license transfer. And when they do that, they make sure that whoever gets that license is going to be safe. And they've chinned that bar multiple times. So the FERC requirements aren't changing at the site. And again, I talked about the secret sauce of our employees, those that have kept those assets safe. We'll be working for Confluence and continue to keep them safe. There will be an impact, a rate impact because of the sale. So what I'm showing you here is a chart. There's 3 lines on it. There's one line for sale. That's the, I'm going to step over. Oh, I got a laser. That one. So that's sale. And then the other 2 are decommissioning and relicensing. And what I'm showing you there is the incremental rate impact. So think of the rate that you pay today. Because of this sale, your rate is going to go up a small amount. And the amount of that increase is showing over 30 years here with those lines. A couple things I want to point out. The lowest cost or the least incremental cost is selling the facilities versus decommissioning or relicensing and continuing to operate. The other thing is, this is kind of hard to see perhaps, but if you look at the y-axis here, the blue line starts down at 0.07 cents per kilowatt hour. So most of you pay somewhere around 16, 18 cents a kilowatt hour. The incremental amount of rate impact due to this transaction is 0.07 cents, which if you were to take a penny and cut it into 15 equal parts, that's how much the rates are going to go up. So we did file back in October for approval of the sale. So we filed with the Public Service Commission for approval of the sale and approval of the power purchase agreement. We also filed with FERC for approval of the license transfer. Again, we did that in October, and we think it's going to take about 12 to 18 months to navigate that regulatory process to get approval from the MPSC and FERC. Property rights. What's going to happen to my property rights? That's a common question that we get as we come into communities. So on the Asaba River in total, we have Consumers Energy has 68 agreements, perhaps with some of you, related to your property, related to your property. 5 of those are leases, and those are assignable. So Consumers Energy can assign those, and we will assign those agreements to Confluence. So there'll be no change in any of the leases. A license, there's 63 of them. So if you have a license for your boat dock, we are working with Confluence on replacement agreements. The intention is putting in place replacement agreements. There'll be no change with any lease or any license until closing, which is about 12 or 18 months. And then we will assign at closing all the leases, and we'll work with Confluence at closing to put replacement agreements in place on all licenses. All right, my final slide. And I'll give my, is it Natalie, you're up in a minute? Okay, good. I'll give you my microphone here. So what's not changing? So there's a couple things that's not going to change. Consumers Energy is still going to be a key community partner here. We still have electric service, and we still are going to have our white and blue trucks running around the neighborhood. And when we have to restore power, and doing investment and maintenance that's necessary to keep the system operating. As we talked about the leases and licenses, recreation access will continue. And the last thing is, there's no change in a FERC regulatory oversight. There's going to be our employees going to Confluence. I can say what's not going to change is the safety of these dams. These dams are safe yesterday, they're safe today, and they're going to be safe in the future. So with that, I'll turn over to Natalie.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. My name is Natalie Joubert. I'm the Vice President for External Affairs and Policy at Confluence Hydro. Quickly going to introduce the team with me here tonight, all of whom are wearing these, or most of whom are wearing these gray sweaters. Randy Osteen over here, our General Counsel. Jillian Lawrence, who's our Vice President of Operations and Dam Safety. Tara Deckerson, she's an analyst and is leading the transition here for Confluence Hydro. And then Pat Sullivan and Amy Bailey are with Byron Fisk, a Michigan-based communications firm that is assisting us through this process. A little bit more about myself and Confluence Hydro. So first of all, I've spent my whole career, 15 years plus, in the energy sector. That's a common theme that you'll hear from all of the team. We passionately love being in the power sector. We have deep expertise and experience and are really, really excited about the opportunity here. So Confluence Hydro, we are exclusively dedicated to maintaining and upgrading hydroelectric dams. We passionately believe that with the right management and the right investments, dams can and should continue to provide clean, safe, reliable power for generations to come. Our parent company, I know Rick mentioned us, Whole Street Energy. We are a U.S. investment firm. We're headquartered just outside of Washington, D.C., and we focus on the North American power sector. Our leadership team, many of us have worked for large power companies, utilities like Consumers Energy, and again, have a deep passion for this sector, in particular, hydroelectric power. These dams in particular, we see a lot of potential for them, and we're so excited to be here with the opportunity to invest in Michigan. So want to reassure the community of why we know we can be successful here, what tools that we have to ensure that these dams can continue to operate safely for generations to come. One, I know Rick mentioned it a few times, it's the existing Consumers Energy Hydro team. We have offered them equivalent positions with equivalent pay to come over to Confluence Hydro to ensure safe operations continue once this sale closes. You know, when our team was evaluating this opportunity and spending several months in that due diligence, it really was the quality of the workforce that piqued our interest, their professionalism, their expertise. I understand this is our third community meeting, hearing a lot of feedback from folks about what a great partner they have been in your communities. So we're so excited at the opportunity to have them join our team and ensure that safe operations continues. Second, I know another key piece that Rick pointed out in terms of the qualities they were looking for in a buyer was financial capabilities. Really two key things I would point out here. One, it really is that 30-year power purchase agreement that is core to this sale. That is going to provide us secure, sustainable, long-term resources to ensure that we're making the investments to relicense these facilities, keep them operating for the long term, and really capture the value of that long-term power purchase agreement. Secondly, we know there's some large improvements that are going to need to happen here in the coming years. Whole Street Energy, our parent company, has already made a significant capital improvement to make sure that we have the funding available for those projects. The third key attribute really goes to our expertise and experience. We have done this many times before. Our team at Whole Street Energy, we were calculating across our careers, owned, operated, upgraded, relicensed, about 100 dams worth about 3 gigawatts of power. So this really is core to our business model, core to our expertise, core to our passion. Second big thing I want to assure the community on, we are really focused on ensuring the safety and prosperity of your communities. It is core to everything we do, much like Consumers Energy, safety, safety, safety. We are very appreciative of your time to come out over the past few years to share your feedback with public sector consultants with Consumers Energy. We've read the reports, we're internalizing those results, but more importantly, we're here tonight to hear directly from you. You know, share your questions, share your feedback. We want to be good neighbors. We want to be good partners here for the long term. I think the other thing, though, and I know Maggie mentioned this, we're still about a year away, maybe longer, until close, and we're only a few months in to this sale agreement. So we may not have all of the answers to your questions, but we will commit to having an open dialogue with you. So really appreciate you offering us a little bit of grace if we're not able to fully answer your questions tonight. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Jillian Lawrence, who's going to talk a little bit more about our vision for these dams.
Hi all, I'm Jillian Lawrence, and I just want to start by saying safety is foundational to everything we do, and that's just not us speaking or wordsmithing, but it is something that has resonated and been core to me since I started in this industry many years ago, where I started as a state dam safety regulator in New Jersey, overseeing 1,800 dams. I spent about 15 years working with operators and owners of dams, bringing them into compliance. And what that meant is taking dams that didn't meet our dam safety standards, working with the owners and their engineers to come up with plans and solutions to bring their dams into compliance, making the necessary spillway modifications and improvements. It means for dams that were in poor condition, either due to lack of maintenance or weathering, working with the, again, owners and their engineers to implement solutions to improve the dam so that they could continue to serve for the future residents. And then for dams that were safe, to continue to make sure that they were safe and compliant. And so that's a mindset that I have brought with me over the many years, and we bring into the Confluence Hydro leadership team, where we have decades of experience, not only owning and operating hydropower facilities, but also other power plants. And not only do we have a demonstrated track record, but as Rick said, he verified that we have a demonstrated track record. He went into the FERC filings and saw that we owned and operated 47 dams. But what he didn't necessarily speak to is that in those 47 dams, we made multiple millions of dollars of investments into those facilities, bringing some of those dams into compliance and bringing some of those dams making investments into the water retaining and dam structures that previous ownerships neglected to do so. In addition to that, we made upgrades to over 24 hydropower turbine generator units at 15 different facilities so that we could take the same amount of water and extract more power out of it. And lastly, we were in full compliance with our federal, state, and local regulators during our entire ownership. And lastly, in addition to owning and operating, we also successfully navigated the relicensing process. And that process is somewhere between 6 to 10 years of working with the community, stakeholders, other state and local entities to come up with a plan and settlement agreements so that everyone has a community plan of how we were going to operate and maintain the facility for the next license term. So under our previous ownership, we successfully relicensed 4 hydropower licenses at 6 different facilities, and we started the process for several others. So why does Confluence Hydro value hydropower? To tell you that, I have to start at the beginning. Hydropower is the foundational energy resource. It was the first resource to put electrons on the grid. In fact, it was the first resource that electrified the residential light bulb back in 1890 in Appleton, Wisconsin. It also helped spur the second industrial revolution, allowing textile mills, which were using mechanical power, and convert it to electrical power, and really sparked an industrial revolution and technology revolution in the US. That's why our mission is to rebuild and modernize the North American hydro fleet, because we see that not only was it a backbone resource in the early days, but it continues to provide a baseload resource even today. In addition to that, our vision is to improve these facilities so that they can continue to provide safe, reliable power to the electric grid for generations to come. So our vision is predicated on 3 principles: clean, safe, reliable generation, so that we can provide stable generation for futures to come. Again, we seek to modernize the dams and prepare them for relicensing. As the deal progresses, we're evaluating the capital improvement plans and assessing the next steps. For these particular facilities, when we performed our diligence, which included numerous documentation reviews, it also included site visits. It included us bringing in independent engineers to assist us with our site inspections. And then we took the financial long-term plan that consumers provided us. We looked at it and we evaluated it how we would want to run it. And what we did is we layered on additional work that we thought that would be beneficial for the financial outcome for these resources. What that looks like is back when these resources were built, somewhere between 70 and 100 years ago, these facilities were operated on a supply-demand. They pond and stored water, releasing it when energy was needed. Today, it doesn't work like that. When environmentalism came about, for the benefit of the downstream biota and the fish, a lot of these facilities were operated in what we call run-of-river, which means inflow equals outflow, regardless of whether you're generating or not. And so presently, we see that there's opportunity to make these mechanical and electrical improvements to really bring these facilities up to current standards so that they can continue to provide a long service life. In addition to that, particularly for Mayo and the Ausable, we understand that there are some dam safety improvements that do need to be made, and we're committed to making them. Two of the improvements are finishing the artesian study at the Ausable River and seeing what the next steps are resulting from that, and looking at making improvements to the emergency spillway. For Mayo, the dam appears to be in good condition. I think it is in safe condition from FERC standards, and so our objective there will be to maintain the dam facility. With that, that's pretty much our plan. We're excited to be here in Michigan. Thank you all for coming out. We look forward to having any questions. With that, I will turn it over to Maggie.
I'm going to thank Confluence again for being here tonight. Really, really appreciate you being our guest here and talking to the community. We've really enjoyed having you here. Consumers Energy, thank you again for taking the questions. And Angela, you want to take us home?
Sure. Thank you, Maggie. Again, thank you all for coming out this evening. This evening was all about you. I know there are some concerns about neighbors and community. Consumers Energy, we are here. We will continue to be your neighbors. We will continue to be your partners. We will continue transparent conversation and engagement. So we're not going anywhere. We will continue to be here. We thank you for being with us tonight, and travel safely. If you have additional questions, we will be around for a few minutes. So if there's other questions that you have, we'll all be here and available. Have a good night, and thanks for being with us.